Think different. I think you're probably familiar with that logo. The ironic thing is I've been doing some research on a fellow named Albert Einstein you might have heard of. And years ago, he said, question everything. That was his most famous quote of everything. Well, fast forward hundreds of years later, and we have just lost another amazing person in our lives who's been able to fill us with so much wisdom. Tonight, we dedicate the show to the memory of one of the truly greatest Americans ever, Mr. Stephen Jobs, on The Power of One. Well, it's been a few weeks since we filmed one of our shows. I've been traveling all over the world doing events, so I apologize, but I definitely got the inspiration. One of the most powerful people, if not the most powerful one we've ever covered on the show, when Stephen Jobs passed yesterday. And I don't really care if you're a PC or a Mac person. Let's get beyond that for a moment and look at one of the most brilliant business people of our lives. I do have all my Mac stuff lined up, though, including the very first iPod I got. Man, things have definitely changed. It's amazing to think this was about 5 years ago. It looks like a dinosaur now. It weighs a lot compared to the newer, tricker stuff. But anyway, the bottom line is, even if you're not an Apple person, just do one thing. Go to your computer, go to YouTube, and go ahead and find this commencement speech that he gave at Stanford. I have to tell you, I'm a public speaker, and I have never seen a more powerful speech in my life. 14 and a half minutes. Sometimes public speakers, less is more. 14 and a half minutes packed with 3 of the best lessons and dozens of sub-lessons that are just really overwhelming. I've referenced this speech many times while I'm training, but I've just got to tell you, it is one of the most remarkable things I've ever seen. And I just want to quickly paraphrase a little bit about Stephen Jobs, because he truly does embody the power of one that we've been talking about on the show for the last couple of years. In his speech, he talks about how he was orphaned and his birth mom just wanted to make sure that his adopted parents made sure he went to college. And how although he went to college, he didn't graduate. I'll let you watch the video and get the whole story. But bottom line is, you've got to believe in fate. You have to believe in something, he says in his speech. There's something connecting everything. You just have to be smart enough to see it all and put it together. And you can't see it all when you're looking forward, but when you look back in retrospect, you'll see how the dots all connected. But you have to trust your gut instinct. You have to go with your heart. Wow, that's a powerful message. But let's go to the second part of his speech, where he talks about starting Apple out of his garage with Steve Wozniak. By the time it was worldwide, and it was unbelievable, he was 30 years old, he actually got fired from the company he started. And I know that's hard to believe. And once again, you can get the details on it by searching online. Some of you didn't even know that probably. But Apple dumped Stephen Jobs, and instead of becoming an alcoholic or getting totally depressed, he went through that kind of a frustrated period. But then he started Next, which, if you don't know anything about Next, Apple ended up buying that back. And now all of this stuff basically comes from the technology that was created with the company Next, which is what Stephen Jobs started during his depressed period when he was kicked out of his company. He also started a little company called Pixar Pictures. You might have heard of them. I mean, that's just a great example, folks. I mean, how many people, when they get kicked, they just roll over and play dead? And once again, I'm human, you're human, that's our human nature. What an amazing example this guy is, that not being willing to do that. While he was at his worst moment, publicly humiliated beyond belief, he went out and just followed what he was passionate about, and he didn't worry about what they said, what the critics said, and what the media was saying and all that stuff. And obviously, we all know the story. Apple hired him back and now is obviously a zillion times more successful than it was when he was at odds with that interesting gentleman who had him throw down the company. By the way, I don't think that guy's still there. I'm just saying. So the third part, and the most powerful part, an ironic part, is when he talks about death, because he had pancreatic cancer and he went through and had an operating on. But he talks about how death is a natural part of life and no one can escape it. And actually, it's really good. And he's talking at a college commencement at Stanford. He says, right now, you're the new, but in the not too far distant future, you're going to be the old. Just think about that one for a minute, folks. As you're watching this, maybe you're starting a new endeavor. Something's new. Maybe you're young. But the bottom line is, in a blink of an eye, we're going to be ready to depart as well. So don't waste time. Gosh, so many people waste time. They waste talent. It just makes me crazy. Life is such an amazing gift, and most of us don't appreciate it until it's really too late. This gentleman obviously understood that and filled up his years with the most he possibly could. I just think it's a remarkable, remarkable story. At the very, very end of this, he says there was a publication that he read that really had an impact on him, and it's the advice he gave to everyone. It said, stay young, stay foolish. I'm sorry, stay hungry, stay foolish. Stay hungry, stay foolish. I think without a doubt, Stephen Jobs was always hungry and foolish. And I just want you to look at the wave of momentum this one individual has created. And I know Steve Woz had a lot to do with it, but I'm just saying, bottom line is, certainly the new renaissance of Apple has to do all with Stephen Jobs. And look at what's going to happen. What I'm saying to you is, think different, keep looking into the future, staying hungry. I think the real testament to Stephen Jobs is not now. I think it's going to be 5, 10, 15, and 20 years from now, because I truly believe the people he left behind at Apple are so passionate about the vision that he had that you're going to see that company go to greater heights than it's ever gone. And that's really the power of what one person could do. See, this is not about glorifying Stephen Jobs, although maybe it sounds like that. This is about showing you what one person, an orphan who did not graduate college, what one person who believed in himself and believed in the dreams of his heart was able to do by just going after it. The power of one has literally affected the quality of our online lives. This guy has changed the way we live our lives on this planet. That's why I said in the beginning, maybe no one else we've covered on the show other than, well, there was one person that if you've watched them all, probably had a bigger impact. But other than the Jesus show we did, if you're a believer, I'd have to say this is the guy that I believe has impacted how we live our lives more than anyone else we've talked about on the show. Unbelievable. And like I said, you don't need to be an Apple fan to appreciate the fact of what I'm trying to say here. One man, one vision, one belief has impacted hundreds of millions and even billions of people. If he can do it, you or I can do it. Anything is possible, but remember, before you know it, it's all going to be over. So what it really matters is, what are you going to do with today? Are you going to stay hungry? Are you going to stay foolish? Are you going to be willing to just go for the gusto and live life with everything you've got? Stephen Jobs set a great example, and it's a privilege to talk about him today on The Power of One.